Welcome back to Layden's Oil. Today, I thought I'd take you guys along and show you guys how I'm going to put together this chainsaw mill that I just got from Amazon. Now, I went through all of their directions and wow, they make it sound way more complicated than it actually is. And I looked up online to see if I could find anything out there that shows us actually how to put it together. I couldn't find anything, so I think what I'm going to do today for you guys is actually just put it together. And what I'm actually going to use is actually a picture of this sawmill that I bought. I'll show you guys the components in a minute, but yeah, these are the directions. Yeah, there's not much to them. A lot of it is more confusing than anything else. So these things, I'm not even going to look at. I'm just going to do it off of a picture, and hopefully, as I'm doing it off a picture, it should make it a little bit more simpler for anybody else. So this is everything. These look like the rails that adjust your chainsaw up and down. So this looks like all the parts, and this obviously is the handle. Now, I really haven't looked at this thing much yet, but just looking at it, I can kind of tell what parts go where. So these two get bolted together this way, like this. That's these two parts. Then the end brackets, which are these, fit on this like that. Well, they actually fit this way. This little round half moon bracket fits here, and then the C-clamps that came with them go through and clamp them on. This one is just so that you can adjust it up and down for the thickness of the lumber that you want to cut. So that's those. These are our rails, which, well, this is actually what sits across the log like this, and the chainsaw sits in so that when you're cutting, they just slide along the rail. This is the guard for the end of the bracket from where your chainsaw goes in. This is just to protect you and anybody else that's around. These are the guides for your chainsaw. So these two have a guide on each end, a rounded guide. So it's pretty much the same as the other end, except this one is like this. This is the one where your chainsaw goes, the head of the chainsaw, like the motor of the chainsaw, goes at this end of the sawmill. This looks like the cross member, which the handle goes on, like this. I'm not quite sure how that works yet, but we'll figure it out once we get the... Now this piece looks like it's the cross member. I'm pretty sure that's the one that's the cross member because the bolts go in here and in here, which fastens it to this cross member. And then these bolts go down through here and here into the rail so that you can adjust it. Now this is just me looking at it. I haven't really looked at those directions because the lettering on them is so small. Even with my magnifying glass, I had a hard time reading it. And the pictures are so blurry, I'm not even going to bother using it. So I think what we should do first is to put the end brackets together. So what I'm thinking is, I think there's a nut and a washer. So what I'm actually going to do now is actually look at these ends and see. It looks like it's just a nut, a washer without a nut, so it would be these guys. Because these actually have a nut that's actually welded onto the bracket. Now this is the bracket that actually holds the chainsaw bar just enough to hold them in place. So now, if I'm looking at this end, which is, see, I didn't pay close enough attention. So this, come on. That's where this bracket goes. The safety guard for the head of your chainsaw goes in between these two. Or little bracket. That's a U-bolt bracket, which goes over the back part of this. Then your U-bolt drops through. Best way to do it is just kind of hold the U-bolt in place itself. The end. Pretty simple to do. Put it all together. Holding the chainsaw bar. Because what happens is these come apart like this. You can see there's a gap there. When you tighten them, they go together, and what they do is they pinch the chainsaw bar in between the chain so that you can hold your chainsaw in place. So, yeah. Now, because this one, I have to put it on so that, you see this little hole? This is for the stabilizer bar, which is right here. It's just a bar that goes along the top edge. What it does, it actually keeps the unit from twisting when you're using it. So we have to do the same thing again. The brackets for the U-bolts. Sure, I can figure it out. Well, yeah, these are the two ends. Now all we have to do is fasten the rails. I'm not sure how well you guys can see this. I'm going to turn this around a little bit more so you guys can see a little better what I'm doing. I apologize if I didn't have it down good enough for you guys. Okay, so this is how it works. It goes... Okay, I better show it up a little closer. This is the slides that come with the unit. It has a U-channel in the top. So your bolt goes in there. The round part of the bolt goes down inside here. This sits over top, slides down, on, and you take a washer, and you take the deep nut, and you screw it down. Now this I'm just going to put it so it's right at the ends. I can adjust it once I go to put the chainsaw on, which I'll show you guys how I'm doing that as well. Now, the one thing that I do have to check, I just noticed I might have that. No, that's right way around. I was just double checking to make sure I didn't have the bottom put on backwards, but no, it's perfect the way it is. So now we just have to repeat the process on this side. Take the bolt, the pan head bolt out. Slide it in the rail down, push it up through, put the bolt back on. Oh, better use the washer. Now the one thing I should say is these bolts, when you put them in the channel, they have a square head underneath the pan head, so that when they come up through, the channel itself works like a wrench on the bolt so that you can tighten this down without this moving. So we got that end put in. Now none of this is put together square or anything yet. I'm just kind of putting it all together loosely to make sure I'm getting everything to work properly. Okay, now I got to take these off because what I actually have to do now I need to take two of these bolts, and I got to slide them roughly halfway. It doesn't really matter, as long as I put them in halfway so that they're out of the way. That's those two. Then I got to take the last two. They go on the end to support this end bracket. The reason, I'll show you why I slid these halfway up in a minute. Let's get the end bracket on first. I'm not going to tighten these up because I do have to loosen them in order to get my chainsaw to work. Now these center bolts that I put in, see, I slid them in before I put the end on. The reason I did that is because we have this guy here we need to put in. So what we're going to actually do with this one, we have to slide these two bolts in, which are the same as the other ones. There. And we're going to kind of push these in between. Now this is where our handle goes. So what I'm going to do, and this metal bracket, remember I showed it to you before? This is what this is for. It goes on here and here. Oops. Yeah, this one's a little bit trickier, but it's not hard to do. It just takes a little bit of patience because it keeps wanting to slide down on you. But I guess what you could do is just do one side at a time, which would make it a lot easier. Now, it looks like they might have given us a couple extra bolts, but we'll see. Maybe not. Looks like they did. So I'm just going to, when I know my blade is not quite long enough to go too far, so I'm going to bring this in a bit. Now I'm sliding the stabilizer bar in. It's all kind of put together. Everything is still like really loose. The reason I didn't tighten everything up is because when I put the chainsaw on, that's going to tell me where I need to adjust and put these things. So, okay, well, I got it all put together. This is the entire unit. It's not much to them. Pretty simple. So now what I'm going to do is show you how to put the chainsaw in. Now these work like clamps. See, it moves up and down. These two bolts are what will tighten it, and this is where the bar of the chainsaw goes through. So, still pretty loose. So you push your chain saw in as far as you can. Actually, I think what we need to do is pull it back a little bit. Because you don't exactly slide real easy because you got like 3 or 4 different bolted sections that you got to kind of get everything to go through. So you kind of lift up on it so that it kind of slides in evenly. And one of the most important things is there's 2 little metal sleeves in the bracket that clamps your bar of your chainsaw tight. You have to make sure that your chain is not going to be touching any steel on either side when you clamp them down. Right now, that looks good there. Looks good there. So now we just clamp it down. And with something like this, because there's bolts on 2 sides, what you need to do is to do a little on each side at a time so you're not just tightening it all down on one side. If you did that, it would only go tight on one side of the metal bracket. So that's something you definitely don't want to do. So you want to go back and forth to tighten it down. Nice and snug. Yeah, I did go find my own wrenches. The wrenches that come with this kit is not very good. now is to check and make sure your chain rolls without hitting anything. So that's perfect. So that's it. That's your chainsaw mill. All put together, chain is put on it. What I'm actually going to do down the road, I won't be doing it for the next few days. We have rain and snow for the next few days. So what I'm actually going to do is I'll do a separate video on how to set up a rail with this thing. I didn't buy a rail for this because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a ladder. I have 4 aluminum ladders, so I'm going to use one of them for my rail to help me cut a nice straight line. And I'll show you guys how I'm going to do that in the next video. So yeah, if you got anything out of this video, then maybe consider subscribing and hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. And thanks for watching.